At my mother's 60th birthday dinner, my husband kept making excuses to leave the table. When I went to the parking lot to grab her gift, I saw him in the back seat of his car with my cousin. I didn't confront them. Instead, I sat down next to my mom and whispered, "Watch this." Then I tapped my glass and said, "Just want to say how proud I am to share this night with my entire family, especially the two people outside, proving just how close family can be." My aunt spit out her wine. My husband froze in the doorway. My cousin ran. And I left my ring in her purse. It happened in Columbus, Ohio. We were at this old-school Italian restaurant my mom loved since I was a kid, one of those family-style places with dim lights, red booths, and garlic bread that makes you want to cry. It's so good. She turned 60, and I planned everything. The invitations, the decorations, the cake. My husband Mark helped, or at least pretended to. There were about 20 of us at the table. My brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, and of course my mom, glowing in this blue dress she picked just for the occasion. I was proud of the night. Everything was going smooth. Except Mark. He kept standing up from the table. First it was, "Gotta take this call," then, "I'll be right back," "Forgot something in the car," and then later, "I think my blood sugar's low, I need to walk." By the third or fourth time, my radar was up. I didn't say anything, but I watched how my cousin Rachel also kept checking her phone and fidgeting every time he left. Rachel, blonde, loud laugh, the one who always had to be the center of attention. She's a year younger than me and used to come over all the time when we were kids. She even lived with us for a few months in high school. My mom loves her like a daughter. So when it was time to bring in the cake, I realized I had forgotten my mom's gift in the car. It was a small framed photo of her parents that I'd had restored. I told her I'd be right back and headed for the lot. That's when I saw it. Our car. The back window fogged up. I thought maybe Mark was on a call. Maybe he stepped in for privacy. But then I got closer. Close enough to see the shape of two people. Close enough to see Rachel's hand on his chest and their mouths locked together. I stopped. Stood there. My ears rang, but my face stayed calm. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I turned around, walked back inside, and sat next to my mom. I leaned in and said, "Watch this." Then I stood up and tapped my wine glass with a fork. Everyone looked over, smiling at first, thinking I was going to give a sweet toast. "I just want to say how proud I am to be here tonight," I said. "To celebrate the woman who taught me what love and loyalty should look like. And I feel especially proud to be surrounded by my family. Especially the two people outside, proving just how close family can really get." The whole table went quiet. You could hear the plates stop clinking. My Aunt Marlene spit out her wine. My brother's fork dropped. My mom just stared at me, then turned toward the door. That's when Mark walked back in, his face pale, jaw tight. Rachel wasn't behind him. She ran. Like a damn coward, she ran. I walked right over to Rachel's purse, picked it up off her seat, unzipped it, and slipped my wedding ring inside. Then I smiled and said to my mom, "Let's cut the cake." The next few minutes were a blur. My aunt chased Rachel out to the parking lot. Mark stood frozen near the doorway, while half the family whispered and stared at him. My uncle yelled, "You slept with your wife's cousin? Are you serious?" I walked into the kitchen, asked the staff to bring out the cake. We sang. My mom had tears in her eyes, not because of Mark, but because I stood up for myself. After the candles were blown out, I walked out the front door without looking back. That night, I slept at my brother's house. The next morning, Mark sent 14 text messages. "I'm sorry. It didn't mean anything. I was confused. It was a mistake. And the worst one, you didn't give me enough attention lately." I blocked his number. I called a divorce lawyer that afternoon. I thought that would be the end. But no, Rachel wasn't done. And neither was Mark. After I blocked Mark, I thought I'd have some peace. But 2 days later, Rachel showed up at my work. I work at a dental clinic, small, family-owned. I was sterilizing tools in the back when the receptionist walked in and said, there's someone up front asking for you. She says it's family. I walked out, and there she was. Rachel. In a short white sweater, sunglasses pushed up in her messy hair, like she was still drunk from the night before. She had the nerve to look annoyed. "Can we talk?" she said. Loud, in front of everyone. I led her outside. She didn't even wait for me to speak. "You humiliated me in front of everyone," she said, arms crossed. "Do you know what that did to my mom? To Uncle Pete?" I stared at her for a second. I couldn't believe it. "Are you serious? You could have pulled me aside. You didn't have to do it like that. You slept with my husband. On my mom's birthday. In our car," I said, slowly. "You're lucky I didn't drag you inside by your fake hair and announce it with a microphone." She blinked. Tears welled up. But I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. She whispered, "I think I'm pregnant." My stomach dropped. I don't know if it was true or just a grenade she wanted to toss into my life. But she looked serious. Scared, even. "I don't know whose it is," she said. "But if it's Mark's, I need to know what you're going to do." I laughed. Actually laughed. "I'm going to divorce him. That's what I'm going to do. The rest? That's your problem." Then I turned and walked back into work. That night, Mark showed up at my brother's house. Banged on the door like a maniac. Yelling, begging. My brother answered and told him he had 5 seconds to get off the porch or he'd call the cops. Mark left. But the next morning, there was a note on my windshield at work. "You're ruining my life. You didn't have to make a scene. We could have fixed this. I'm losing everything because you wanted to be dramatic." I kept it. I sent it to my lawyer. Then I got another message. From someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year, Allison, one of Mark's ex-girlfriends. She said, "Hey, I heard what happened. I'm sorry. Just so you know, Rachel wasn't the first." She sent me screenshots. Old ones. From 6 months ago. From a woman named Bree. And another from a girl he met at his gym. He had a pattern. Smooth talk, flirting, secrecy. I'd missed it. Rachel wasn't even the first betrayal. She was just the dumbest. I started to realize I didn't just lose my husband. I lost years of trust in a lie. But I wasn't done. If Mark thought I was dramatic before, he was about to see what I looked like when I stopped holding back. The first thing I did was make copies of everything. Rachel's pregnancy claim, Mark's note, the screenshots from Allison. I wanted a file ready, just in case he tried anything stupid during the divorce. I met with my lawyer, a tough woman named Janice who didn't play around. She looked at the evidence, nodded once, and said, "Let's make this expensive for him." Turns out, Mark had been hiding money. Not a lot, but enough. He kept a separate bank account under his name only. Janice found it in 2 days. We froze it. The next week, I mailed an anonymous packet to Rachel's workplace. She worked at a local insurance company, mostly customer-facing. Inside the envelope was a printout of the note Mark left me, a photo of them in the car. I'd gone back and snapped one before leaving that night, and a typed message that said, "This is the woman you're trusting with sensitive customer information. Just a heads up." She got suspended pending investigation. That same day, I got a message from Rachel's older sister, Tina. We were never close, but she wrote, "I don't blame you for what you did. I've known Rachel was toxic for years. She's lied about so many things. You just finally exposed it." Then Tina said something that stopped me cold. She told her friend she's not really pregnant. Said she thought saying it might make Mark stay. I stared at the message. The whole time, I thought Rachel might have been panicking, unsure. But she was just manipulating the situation even deeper. I forwarded the message to Janice. We added it to the file. Meanwhile, Mark's life was crumbling. His boss caught wind of the drama, probably from all the family gossip or maybe even the Reddit post my cousin's kid made. Mark was let go from his job for personal conduct issues affecting team dynamics. That's how they phrased it. Rachel? Her suspension turned into termination. Turns out, she'd accessed client accounts without authorization. She was trying to see if one of them was connected to Mark's frozen account. Sloppy and desperate. Then came the biggest twist of all. 2 weeks before our court hearing, I got a call from my Aunt Marlene, Rachel's mom. She asked if we could talk in person. I wasn't sure, but something in her voice sounded different, tired, like she'd aged 10 years since the dinner. We met at a coffee shop. She looked at me and said, "I need to tell you something. About Rachel. About Mark." And what she said next made me realize the betrayal had started long before I ever caught them in that car. Aunt Marlene stirred her coffee for a long time before she spoke. Her hand shook. "This isn't easy," she said. "I've been trying to figure out how to tell you without making things worse." I waited. I didn't know her comfort, but I needed the truth. She sighed. "Rachel and Mark. They've known each other for a lot longer than you think." I blinked. "I mean, they've known each other since we were kids." She shook her head. "No. I mean, they had a thing. Years ago. Before you and Mark got married." My stomach twisted. She continued, "It was brief, or so she says. Just before your engagement. They hooked up a few times when she came to visit that summer." I sat there frozen. I had been planning my engagement, shopping for dresses, looking at wedding venues. And Rachel had already been sleeping with him. Aunt Marlene looked down at her cup. "She promised me it was a mistake. Said it ended the moment she knew you two were serious. But I think it never really ended. That hit harder than anything else had." I thought back to that summer. How Rachel stayed in our guest room for 2 weeks. How Mark had taken off early from work some days. How she always wore makeup around him, even at breakfast. I thought about all the times I'd defended her. When other family members called her reckless, when she borrowed money from my mom and never paid it back, when she dated married men and said, "It's complicated." I thought she'd never do that to me. I thought wrong. I stood up from the table. "Did you know? Before my mom's dinner." She shook her head quickly. "No. God, no. If I had, I wouldn't have let her come. I swear it." I didn't know what to say. I just left. But I wasn't done. I sent Mark a message through Janice. Let him know I'll be presenting new evidence. And that the settlement I wanted? Off the table. Then I called my brother, Jason. He works in IT for a local firm. I asked him if he could help me recover something, old security cam footage from the house from 2 years ago. The summer Rachel visited for my birthday. When Mark said he was working late every night that week, Jason texted me that night. "Found something. You might want to sit down." I watched it alone. The backyard camera. Mark and Rachel. In the pool. At night. Kissing. Her legs wrapped around him. My birthday decorations still up in the background. 2 years before I found them in the car. This wasn't a fling. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a whole second relationship. Right under my nose. And now I wanted them both to feel the full weight of everything they'd done. I burned with rage, but I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I planned. First, I sent the backyard footage to Janice. She watched it and called me 30 minutes later. "I've handled ugly divorces," she said. "But this? This is nuclear. We'll go for full asset separation. Alimony? Off the table. You'll keep the house. The car. Everything." Then she paused. "Are you sure you want to use this? It'll ruin them." "I'm sure." Court day came 3 weeks later. Mark walked in wearing a cheap suit that didn't fit. He looked thinner. Tired. He sat across from me with that blank expression, like he was the victim in all this. Rachel wasn't there. Word was, she'd moved out of her apartment and was living with a friend in Kentucky. When our lawyers finished the basics, Janice stood up. We'd like to introduce additional evidence, she said, and then she played the backyard footage. The judge watched without blinking. Mark's lawyer shifted in his seat. When it ended, Mark opened his mouth to speak, but the judge cut him off. I've seen enough. It was over in minutes. I got the house, the savings, and every single item I'd asked for. Mark got nothing but his clothes and whatever was still in the apartment he'd moved into after I kicked him out. But I wasn't done. 2 days later, my mom hosted a family dinner. Same restaurant, same table. No decorations this time, just plates, wine, and real silence. I stood up. Again. Thanks, everyone, for being here, I said. I just wanted to update you all. Divorce is finalized. I have the house. Mark has nothing. Rachel lied about being pregnant. She's not. She's also unemployed, blacklisted from her job, and currently couch surfing in Kentucky. Oh, and just so we're clear, she slept with my husband 2 years ago too. On my birthday. In our pool. My aunt gasped. I looked around the table. No one said a word. My mom put her hand on mine and gave me a small nod. She'd seen the footage. She'd cried when I showed her. But she also told me, good. Now let them rot. I left the dinner early. Not sad. Not angry. Just done. Later that week, Rachel texted me from a new number. You win. Are you happy? I didn't respond. But I did send her back a photo. It was my hand. Holding her old purse, the one she left at my mom's dinner. Still inside was the note I'd written on a napkin and my wedding ring. On the napkin I'd written, "You can have him." But I took everything else. The message was clear. They broke me, lied to me, used me. But in the end, I buried them both with truth and walked away without looking back. Let them rot together. They earned it.